In this short demonstration, I would like to focus a little bit more on the process and how I structure my file inside the layer manager. So here we have a sketch, which is inside one of our books, and I started to recreate it. So I have my contour line, the outline, and for example is a sketch for the shadow line. And everything I will put into a new layer. So this layer, maybe I will just call just sketch, where all the sketch lines maybe go in. And then I can put all these elements in by just selecting the layer and then sliding it up one notch, and that actually then puts it into that folder. Perfect. Okay, that will always be on top again because our contour line, etc., kind of like what you do in comic inking, will be kind of like the line that hides all the rough edges of our marker and airbrush. Okay, so let's start, for example, with the shadow with the marker. Okay, so let's select a marker brush there. Let's select a color there. Okay, and then best is now to turn this off with some nice and uniform strokes. I can put some lines down. I will actually orient them this way. There. Okay, so this is a single object, so I can, best tip here in this case is now use a layer mask and then simply clean this edge up. That's, for example, the inside, and there is the outside. And again, nice thing about layer mask is we can be a little bit too aggressive, because when we then flip from adding actually paint to erasing what we added, and we can bring these details easily back. And a little bit size adjusted. Again, when you do these tasks, don't forget to maybe also adjust your stabilizer. So when we draw this, we can get really nice and smooth curves. Specifically when you're working with a mouse, this helps. And the last part here. Okay, I will just keep it at this. So that was just one very quick way to get that part out. Now I actually have to do on the other side. So let's go back to the marker. You see I can click paint on the layer mask or click on the layer then you actually paint in the normal layer. So I have to find that angle again. No. There. Now I can select all this and then with the move tool move it around till I find a good position there, and then delete the selection, go into the layer mask, go back to our brush, and then we erase everything here again. I have some straight edges there, so if you want, we could actually use the polygonal selection tool hold on, cancel. There, 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 and there. Okay. And then we click cut. Whoops, not cut, because actually, since we're in the layer, we have to fill this area. So we just fill it, that selection, and you see then this way it actually cleaned everything up. Okay, so let's go back to selection and delete the selection by clicking on the X button. And one other possibility would be now, let's open this one. No, actually here we can't do it. We could also select the outside white space. If, for example, the chairs and these lines perfectly would be on one layer, not touching, but there are gaps in between, so I would go inside the selection. So in this case here, I still have to simply go ahead and then paint the rest here by hand. So you see it's quite easy. There, perfect. Okay, so our shaders are good. So let's, for example, work on the vertical shadow part. And I will show you now a variation to what we did here before. So I have this one layer, and I will use that layer to create the vertical marker brush. There's the marker. Let's pick maybe a color there. Okay. And now to help myself a little bit to make nice and vertical lines, I will actually turn on the ruler. And then I would have to hold the shift key. I didn't define it yet, but if you hold the shift key and then move the ruler, it will go in 5-degree steps. I will just eyeball the vertical line, and then as you can see we can do our marker lines nice and vertical. Okay. And now I could go ahead and start hatching, actually, maybe add a little bit more to make this tick darker. No, let's leave it this way. Okay, good. So now normally I would add a layer mask to clip actually all the rest of the strokes out, which is not really what I want. And I showed you here this image again because inside the along the vertical faces I would like to add also a little bit of hand hatching. So let's add this, and maybe let's rotate the ruler this way. Then I will go to this one. Oops, wrong one. Let's select a color. Yeah, let's say maybe this direction. Okay, let's hide all the interface elements. And let's add some hatching. And then I will show you what the creative application of this process is going to be. And so you can use the ruler if you want to, or you can also turn this off and then in really big movements go over it. So actually I do not make individual lines, I just started at one point and then scribble down, just draw over it. So two different ways how you could do the hatching. Okay, so why did I do this? Well, I have two different objects and I would have to create two different layer masks. No, that's not what I'm going to do. I will do this. I will create another folder. Then I put this one into the folder, this one into the folder, and then here let's rename this one. For example, side shadow. And then this folder we will give an alpha mask, because then it masks every layer that's going to be put into that folder, which is exactly what we're looking for. So you see this is a little bit different or similar to the clipping mask, but the clipping mask you cannot be transparent, but you basically with the clipping mask you can have a white or whatever colored image and then clip a new image inside that shape, so you add two parts. And with the layer mask you really make what you paint in the mask transparent, so it's really gone. And with the clipping mask you actually paint where you want to show something. So let's go ahead. Now we can start cleaning this up, and you see I'm painting inside that mask and I'm cleaning up all elements at the same time, which is a really nice time saver. And then we have to bring what we erased by accident back there and there. So you see, nice and easy. Number one, let's do the same here. Whoops, I was too close. And then down here we have to erase the outside, and then we are nearly done actually with this part. There. Let's take a look. See, works pretty great, to be honest. So if you want to get rid of the mask, unfortunately the program currently does not have a disable mask. We only have an apply mask, but we can always select the mask and then actually delete it. I don't have a delete key on the iPad right now. I would have to see where it is. I might have to add a hot button, but on the normal keyboard, just press the delete key. I can actually simply here use the trash can. You see, then it's gone, and then we can undo the step or to bring it back. So, which is kind of similar to enable, disable the feature. Okay, there is actually a small little gap, zip, and there, perfect. So you see then, in this case here we use just a folder and put everything in, and then that part we can then clip by simply adding the layer mask to the folder. Next step is we have to create the nice gradient transitions on the backrest, the seating area, and kind of like the front vertical faces. And I will show you a nice technique where we just use one fill color to define kind of like the brightest color, and then with transparent gray gradients as an overlay, we add shading to it. So I will create another layer and simply fill it maybe with a gray color that is maybe close to what I'm looking for. So maybe let's pick this one, fill this again. Maybe like this. Okay, a little bit warmer. Good. Now I would have to start getting rid of everything. So multiple ways how we can do this. So let's hide this. So there's outline. We can use actually the magic wand. Click outside. You see it selects most of the sketch area. And then here select this and paint actually in it. There you see it clipped most of the stuff for us. Perfect. Let's remove the mask. Now we can actually continue this task. So we go back to the outline, and this time we will magic wand maybe this area and go back to there, fill it. Here click in this layer, this area, go back to our mask, fill it. So you see it's pretty easy. Ooh, what happened? To get these parts cleaned up, and a little bit of final finish there, a little bit here. We need to clean this up. This has to be cleaned up. And there. Yeah, maybe one there. And also over the lines here, because the lines are actually having a fill as well. So that should be gone. Good. Great. So a few mouse clicks and we have that shape cleaned up. So next step, we'll create a new layer on top, and maybe let's start with the bottom area. So I will create myself a rectangle. Okay, then let's go to fill, and now let's open this. Let's click on the gradient. I want to use the gradient where I use the front color and then twice, and the second one is transparent. So I will actually go to a nice grayscale. You don't have to go to black. We actually could go to black, but because I don't need that much shading, I will just stay at kind of like a medium gray. Good. And then here, whoops, let's draw this one. Okay, so we can copy and paste. See, we get a new layer, and then this layer we can move to somewhere else, position it maybe there, and let's click free transform, and now I can squeeze it into the shape I need. Here this has to be a little bit wider because I need to get that arc included. On this side here I can get actually very close to the shape. There. Okay, perfect. Good. Let's hide this. And let's go paste one more time. And let's go to image, free transform. We will flip this. Let's move it over to there. And let's distort. Okay. Yeah, like this. And again, on the right side, it has to be bigger. Good. And here maybe a tick bigger and bigger. Okay. Great. Okay. This one gradient I actually will keep as a backup in case I have to go back at one point. Then I have exactly the gradient I worked with all the time. So one more time, paste and tree transform, because now we will do the rest there. Okay, can keep it. And there you can see already how it starts adding actually shading to it. Let's move this one to there, and let's make a new folder. Let's put all this in there. This goes after it. Maybe this folder we could rename into gradient shading. Whoops. Okay. So we have 3 different gradients. We can actually adjust via the opacity now how strong this should be. And we have to do now the layer masking. And that's not really what we're going to do. This object here, this is actually pretty clean. This is exactly the shape I need. So I will go and apply the mask. Oops, I have to select the mask, obviously. There. So I end up just with the shape. Because this is now my fill shape, and I will use it as a clipping for the gray gradients. So you see, I don't really have to do anything to the gradients anymore. This is actually like a perfect example now when to use the clipping function, because we use a base color and then we just clip stuff over it. Now here we actually add one more, because that is going to be our highlight layer. So maybe where's the white pencil? Pencil white. And this is not strong enough. Yeah, I could use this one, or we could also use an airbrush, scale it down. Opacity. Hold on one second. I'm curious why I actually don't see it. One moment. Let's give this a color. Oh, I had the erase function turned on. Okay. And this is too strong, so now we can play a little bit first with the opacity. There. Now paint nicely along the lines you need. You see, I also paint over the object. I do not paint only from one edge to the other edge. This way, by painting over your whole object, I get better lines. And let me turn this one on so you can see actually where the airbrush strokes are. And then also for this one, we turn on the clipping, maybe a little bit of opacity there. Perfect. See, works actually really good. Now, I'm not really a big fan actually of this marker stuff here, but because we have already a nicely established folder mask, it doesn't really matter. I can simply select it, delete it, and then let's go to the marker and maybe select this color and put something new over it. See, don't really have to worry about the clipping because my folder clipping does that for me already. I also have this shading there. I'm not sure if I need it for everything. I'm just curious actually if we could now to this layer add another layer mask. So, and then let's see if we now paint something in. Yeah, perfect. See, we can then even, in addition, add some shading to that part, and then the whole element is then even clipped by the folder mask. Maybe this hatching is a tick too long. Yeah, sorry, too strong. So let's change the opacity a little bit. Okay, I hope that basically this way it showed you how easily you could then adjust and theme parts. The last element I would like to point out again, let's say we would have to recolorize something. Because I used a transparent gradient, I can always select the gradient, go make a selection. You see that gradient is now selected. Then I go just to a generic brush, maybe select then the color I want, and then I brush over it. It's a little bit choppy right now, so do this slowly. And we go here, but there you can see that actually it fills it based on the transparency. I'm not just painting it with a solid color. And then if I want to adjust the gradient, I can move it a little bit higher or a little bit lower, but obviously that can't go too low because then it clips out. So I have a lot of control. Again, another reason why for this type of application it's better to work with a fill background and then gradient overlays, because you have more flexibility afterwards. Okay, and that's everything.